Dean Harris here in the studio with us. If you are just tuning in, we have been talking with her off air with regards to young folk and the college experience. And she does a wonderful job in helping young people get prepared for college and getting the scholarships and the funding and filling out the necessary paperwork and essays and SAT prep and ACT and all of the daunting things that sometimes come along with getting into higher education. But then when you finally get there, there is an experience that is none other on that college campus without mommy, without daddy. You are there all by yourself with your peers doing anything and everything that you thought you were grown enough to do.
Big and bad enough. Like, let's go out. I don't know. We're like, we can't. We got curfew. Wait, we don't got curfew.
Yes, you are in a situation now where you get to make your own decisions. And for some college-age students, that's a good thing.
Yes.
And for others,
right.
crash and burn all day long. They say that if the child is sheltered prior to going to college, when they get the shackles off and go away, they get buck wild.
I've heard that.
And then I've heard it the other way. If they were buck wild in high school and stuff, they tend to be more conservative once they get to college because I guess they tried and did everything.
They're intimidated by what I could get away with as a high school student. Now you have people that look like adults doing what you were doing, and you're almost afraid of them.
And you're over 18.
Yeah.
Now you're treated as an adult.
Right.
Oh,
that's
so
a
if
felony.
you do something stupid, we ain't talking juvie anymore. We talking
There's no
grown
slap
folk
on
jail,
the wrist.
grown folk prison.
Right.
Smoke that weed if you want to.
Don't do it, kids.
Now, as a parent of a former high schooler, I can say that I was one that I wanted to kind of be in the middle of the road because I had heard those stories as well. So I was pretty fair, but lenient sometimes to let my child go to the party with her friends and hang out a little bit and have a curfew that was reasonable in high school because I wanted her to get a feel for what it was to have those experiences. So when she went off from home, it wouldn't be brand new for her.
Absolutely.
So I do think it's important to have a healthy balance to that and not be too strict and too cautious because I think my parents were a little more strict when I was coming up. And it was actually unfortunate because they would send me along with my older sister and be like, go with her. And I would rain on her parade at the party. But to an extent, it still, was different. It was different the way I grew up versus the way I chose to raise my daughter. But I definitely feel like she knew enough and she got her feet wet enough that when she went off to the big city, the Big Apple, it wasn't, so, new and so unknown territory that she just went off and got booked. Wow. So I think it does make a huge difference. And
when you let them sample,
when you let them take a taste of what it is to be.
Taste and see.
Oh, no. Yes.
Oh, no.
Well, how did you handle yours then?
I beat them.
Bread and water. That's why the youngest went away for school.
Yes, exactly.
She said, Daddy, I gotta go to school.
Give us free. No. Stay in the basement in the corner. You're never leaving.
No. But I think I agree with you that at least by the 10th grade, start
I say junior.
Releasing. And it depends on where you are because mine in New York City, we're not going anywhere at 16. Like, we'll go, but I'm going with you. I'll be here standing at the entrance. Going back there, do what you're doing, but, I'm going to be right here. So I think it depends upon the environment.
Yes.
That's true.
Where they are as well.
The side of town you live on.
Right.
Yes.
And
That
when I
dictates the
talk about that freedom, coming at maybe the 10th, 11th grade, it is literally my niece, and I refer to her because she's an ex-college student in our lineup.
Okay.
She's very introverted. she has a tight-knit circle of friends that she literally grew up with, but they're not all going to the same school.
Right.
So we felt responsible of forcing her to go out. Literally, friends would go out and she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go, but like, aren't you going to the movies with them? And she would easily be like, nah, I changed my mind. We didn't want her to change her mind, because when you go to school, you're not going to sit in your room every single day.
Right.
You have to get used to public places. You have to get used to being there without. And there's so many of us. Like, you could try to not go with the family member, but like, oh, I didn't know you were here, because he was just going to run into one of us. Anyway, they nicknamed us the Wolf Pack.
Oh, wow.
This guy said, when you see one, I promise you, wait a few minutes, another one's coming right around the corner. And we would be like, oh, yeah. I didn't know you were here. So that's where we were. But we felt like we had to push her, not to the point to where she's out of her comfort zone.
Right.
But hey, we're not going to be here. When you finish your 3 classes and you got the rest of the day to yourself, you're not going to just want to sit in your room. You can't come back to Nana's house. You know, trying to instill that in her, because when these kids have been with us their entire life, that's the routine that they know. And just within, I want to say maybe the last year or so, she started having anxiety attacks.
Oh, wow.
Because we have been pushing her. She got her driver's license. The day she got her license, my mom gave her the SUV and was like, go to the game.
Wow.
She was like, by myself? Like, take a friend. Like, we did not get that with the Cutlass. You know, I got my driver's license and a grocery list and had to bring the change back. But literally pushing her like, no, go out. And she went to the game and she came back like, as soon as the game was over, you know us, we was like, let's go to McDonald's.
My college years were the best years of my life. I still remember the gym jams, the 2 to 6s.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
So you were the one on top of the table?
No.
See, no.
He always
What?
does
Everything in moderation. It doesn't have to be the extreme.
Oh, so you were under the table.
No.
When he came in.
I was a designated driver amongst me and my friends. Yes,
That's how I was.
Yes, I had Jesus on the front of my car and everything. I was the only one who had a car in our freshman year. And I said, I'm not taking the license plate off the front. My mama put Jesus on. I said, we going to be covered and we going to this
party. With the Jesus
Who
juice.
You bring to the party, Jesus.
We couldn't have cars on freshman year.
Yeah.
So,
back in the day,
we had to, maybe back in the day,
Horse and wagon.
She aging you. Ooh.
Anyway, it varies from university to university, but freshmen, they wasn't allowed to have cars because of the abuse and drinking and driving and things like that. So it was part of their protection, if you would, going to Syracuse University. It was 23,000 undergraduates, and it was 99% white.
Okay.
So it was only but a handful of us Wakandians that were there. And I was actually voted the first African-American president of the Student Government Association.
Awesome.
Look at the Syracuse
in over
Obama.
100 years of their existence. So it was a major, major accomplishment for the university. And prior to, they had given their counterparts money for being president. But that never came up in the conversations that I had. So, you know me, I'm doing my due diligence and whatnot. I'm like, what kind of benefits come with this? Because they gave me an office, they gave me a secretary, an assistant, the whole 9. I had a whole staff.
Wow.
That literally, and a $1 million budget as a college student.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, we got all this money because I was over the activities fund or whatever. So we have all this money and everybody getting all this stuff. And yeah, I got the perks and the benefits of the offices and the staff and all that other stuff. But what do I get? Wow. So I had to have that responsibility tough conversation.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you paying all these athletes all this scholarship money because they're representing the school. Am I not representing the school? And what kind of money's coming to my bursar's account type thing. So after I had the conversation, they said, well, look into it.
Wow.
24 hours later, full ride.
Awesome.
For 2 years.
Awesome.
So my first 2 years, I was an RA, resident advisor. So they covered my housing and things of that nature. And then I had scholarships to cover the rest. But then they gave, once I became president, I couldn't be an RA because of the roles and responsibilities. So I'm like, I'm losing money. So this is a deficit. So somebody needs to tell me something. So they covered my full ride and they gave me a stipend.
Outstanding.
So it worked out really, really well.
Outstanding.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was it was a wonderful time. So, and I was an alpha, so I pledged. So I got involved with fraternity life.
Okay.
Once again, that also varies from campus to campus.
Did you get branded?
No. Alphas don't do that. Q dogs and people like that do that, but no, our bodies are temple, so we believe in that.
So you just got cigarette burn?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
But even when it came to partying, we would do parties for fundraising purposes to donate and give away. I was the guy at the door collecting the money.
Awesome.
So
Look
I
at
wasn't
you.
in the being responsible. So when you go away to college, you still have to be responsible. No, ask anybody. We even have a radio show host here.
Okay.
We grew up together. We went to college together.
Awesome.
So she knows me from back in the day and all of my shenanigans, and they were all very admirable.
Look at God. Won't he do it?
It really won't. Absolutely.
But
all day, every day.
Dean Harris, he is truly making up for missed time in his adult age. Why you close your eyes? You can always tell when you hit the mark because his eyes get real slit. Like, why you telling my business?
Okay.
I'm Dr. Business, and that's all that I am.
They make stuff up because they like to live vicariously through me.
You know, there are a lot of people out there like that. I get
Dean
it.
So
Harris,
they get in their mind
don't feed
who
that
they
beast right
want
there.
me to be, and they sort of project that on me. And I know from a psychological perspective, some people need that in order to get through the
Bless
day.
his
So I
heart.
just allow them to indulge in their fantasies in that regard. It's my reasonable service to those that are less fortunate.
Is that what that is?
My reasonable service.
Say it with your eyes open.
Nothing like a world-class college experience. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so
Yes.
I just say, hey, if college is for you, make it happen, make it do what it do, baby.
Yes.
Yes.
But don't waste your parents' money.
Please
I'm
don't.
just saying,
Please don't.
you know, there's balance, and you can have fun,
Right.
And you can celebrate, and you can be at the games and do the tailgating thing, and go to the parties, but be responsible when it comes to drinking and drugs and women and men and fast living, and so many
everything
people
else.
have had to come home,
Right.
because they found themselves knocked up.
Right.
They were pregnant and they couldn't
Not being
whatever, and
accountable.
exactly. So you really have to be accountable. It's your first step of adulthood.
Right.
And really, oftentimes, how your college experience is plays a large part of what your 20s is going to be like.
Right. I agree.
Mine was truthfully challenging. My parents didn't go to college, and they were younger, high school parents when they had me. So when it came time for me to go, the finances were not all present. I had athletic scholarship opportunities and everything, but even that deficit, was still hard to cover. And I remember that's when Blockbuster was around. And I refused
Be
to
kind,
have
rewind.
right. And for me, the most important thing was to not end up in debt and to not have student loans. Like, I didn't know, being in a military environment, our housing is, paid for. Like, I didn't get the civilian experience. So what everyone else thought, all of our family was like, oh, y'all rich, y'all in the military. And I'm like, no, I got Fruit Circles, not Fruit Loops. Like, it's not what you think.
Right.
But I remember I would work a full semester and save every Blockbuster check. And then whatever classes I could pay for, I would pay for them all up front. And I would go to school. And then when the money ran out, I would go back and work. Like, literally, it was a long journey for me. But I didn't have student debt. I didn't have any loans or anything like that. I didn't get all the credit cards and things that they offer, and stuff like that, because I
Shout out to Discover.
Right, because
On every college campus.
understood,
Member since
what that might
1930.
mean. And in my mind, I can get this card, but I got to pay this card off.
Right.
And that's going to take away from the school
Yes.
books. And like, for me, it was always,
Now that's a
thought
whole nother talk
process.
show. Please avoid the credit card
right.
companies
They on
your
every
college
campus.
Right.
Day one, orientation. They got the little clubs and the Glee Club and Athletic Booster Club and this club. And there's Discover.
Let me tell you, as soon as you order your class ring, it just starts popping in and falling in and everything. Yeah, as soon as you order your high school class ring, they're like, we got another one.
Here's another one.
Right. So it was a journey for me, you know, and it took me longer than 4 years for the simple fact that I just refused to have that financial burden, you know, weigh on me.
Well, kudos to you.
Because most people,
everywhere.
Credit cards, they think it's free money.
Right.
They don't think it got to be paid back. They was like, ooh, they just love me like that.
My niece's senior gift to me, gift from me, I got her a financial advisor for a year.
That's awesome.
Where she literally, I sat with them for their first dinner meeting. And she let my niece tell her all her goals, ambitions, what she wanted, and things like that. Because Zaya's working. You know, and we know athletically, we're without a doubt. She started having people look at her in 8th and 9th grade. She ranks, I want to say, maybe 7th in the state in track and field. So very, very promising there. But, you know, she's working. It's like, oh, you know, you get a check and you run a Forever 21. I'm okay in the 9th grade, 10th grade. But now you're a senior. You can't run a Forever 21 with your paycheck. You need to get a new thought process. Us telling us, you know how it is, you tell your kids something over and over and over, they don't listen. But then Becky's mom say, like, oh my God, like I had the greatest idea from Becky's mom. That's what I've been telling you the whole time. So,
right.
Instead of us, I got her a financial advisor. So literally they have conversations and she has just grown like right in front of our eyes.
That's awesome.
As it relates to her financial well-being and her future. Because when the scholarship money come in, that ain't time to buy Remy. Like, that ain't time to get your lashes done. That's not what that's for. And, you know, we just want to make sure that things that we did not... Growing up in Germany, we were challenged because, again, we didn't have all of the same experiences that they had in the U.S., you know, as well. So it's where you come from really, really can work in your favor or work against you when it comes to the knowledge and what you need to have.
Right.
How can people get in contact with you?
They can contact me on Instagram and Twitter at School Days Radio, email dean.schooldaysradio@gmail.com, or at stepaheadcollege@gmail.com.
Family, don't go anywhere. We're going to come back and continue the conversation with Dean Harris. I want to find out some of the juicy aspects of her college career on top of the table and underneath the table, and the clothes on and the clothes off experiences, and white powder and things of that nature, all the juicy stuff. Talcum. So, please come back and hear all of the wonderful banter that we will have with Dean Harris, Things Not to Do. You're tuned in to the Profit and Growth Hour here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community.
Not even.
You are a hot mess.
Get you in trouble. Who was that came in?